morning, Bernie. Thanks for tuning in to Boerne Radio. My name is Jeff Flynn. I'm with the Boerne Star. I'm managing editor, and we combine with Boerne Radio to bring you our Boerne Brew every Saturday. We talk to people that are making things happen, making stories, and telling their stories here. We've got some guests here today. We're talking about things happening in the month of March. March 1st is National Peanut Butter Lovers Day. March 3rd is National Mulled Wine Day. March 4th is National Pound Cake Day. March 10th, National Napping Day. And of course, March 14th, 3/14 is National Pie Day. National Panda Day is the 16th. But what we're talking about is coming up in March is International Women's Day. It's March 8th in the world, in the nation. March 7th here in Boerne, we're going to have a couple panelists here. I've got Staci Almager from Hill Country Family Services. Welcome, Staci.
Thank you so much.
She's a repeat customer. She's been here several times. And I've got Kathy Spink here. She's the HR payroll admin for the clubs of Cordillera Ranch. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
And she's going to be one of the panelists. Are you going to be the moderators? Or are you going to be on the panel too?
Yes. Kathy Bendujo from Blessings in a Backpack and I are going to do it together this year. And she was an honoree last year, which was our first year to celebrate International Women's Day in Boerne. And I asked her to come back this year, and I'll moderate, and then she will be the one asking the very hard questions. She's really going to get down and nitty gritty and ask really tough questions.
Are you ready, Kathy?
Absolutely not.
I think...
Come back, Kathy, come back.
No, really, I think last year I asked them, if you could be a zoo animal, what would you be? They're really tough things.
Okay,
no, but then I tried to be really respectful because we try so hard to identify women. When their names come to our minds, we have a moment of reverence for them. And we know there are thousands of women in our community who could all sit at a panel and inspire us. But we try really hard to find people who are not in the spotlight every single day, individuals who are working really hard to change their worlds in a way that maybe not be so much of a public figure. And so when I met Kathy as an example, I knew she was just a rule breaker and a change maker, and she inspired me from the first time we ever met, probably right at 3 years ago. And she has continued to inspire me through the work that she does professionally, and then also things that she shared that she's overcome. And so the questions we will ask on our panel, the honorees that we have chosen, are, what did you want to be when you grew up? That's, I think, when we rewind, we all wanted to be things like astronauts and firemen and firefighters or baker, like a million different things come to mind. And I think it's important for us to stop and pause and realize the winding road that got us to the place we are right now. And then the most important question is, who opened a door for you? Because as women, it is true that only within the last 25 to 30 years has it been a little bit easier to say that women are the heads of corporations and organizations. Back when my mom and dad married, my mother could not be on the mortgage, and she couldn't have her own credit card.
Right.
That's one generation away from me. And so we really want to not necessarily concentrate on the negatives, because that's hopefully in our past. What we want to do is concentrate on the positives, which is, how do we build each other up? We're going to have a champagne toast. We're going to toast how far we've come as a community of great leaders and honor each other. Last year, there were over 100 women in the room with pretty much little notice at all. Just, we said, we're going to have some champagne and we're going to say congratulations to a few women. That resonated and people came out. So we're really excited to have, here we go again this year.
Yeah. Kathy Spink, she's here from the clubs of Cordillera Ranch. She's the HR payroll admin. Staci Almager just gave her a little introduction. We're talking about International Women's Day, which is Friday, March 7th.
Here in Boerne.
Here in Boerne.
Yeah,
What time does that start?
10 o'clock. We are so fast. We're so efficient. 10 o'clock on the nose, we start. And then at 11 o'clock on the nose, everybody gets to go back to their families, their workplace, their holiday weekend, whatever the case may be. But we are really intentional on making sure that we pack a great opportunity for networking in as well. Everybody likes to know other people. So,
who's going to be with Kathy on the panel?
Ooh, so glad you asked. I'll answer your question, and then the biggest question is, why them? And I think I already answered that. Patty Maines, the owner and proprietor of Black Rifle Coffee, just a couple of steps away from where we are right now. Yep. Breezy Campbell, who's the owner, proprietor of Socially Cured, which is, I hire her probably 5 or 6 times times a year to do work for me. She's just unbelievable in catering and the work that she does. Susan Finch, who is over the human resources for our city of Boerne and quietly works on so many initiatives, including Leadership Boerne. Obviously, Kathy is here with us today. And then Donna Klingeman, the one who, if I could grow up and be Donna, that's because she gets to hug babies all day long. And she runs the Hill Country Pregnancy Care Center.
Right.
We chose those women because, as I mentioned just a moment ago, they quietly stand back and do transformational things in our community, and they're not on the front page of the paper all the time. You can't put me and Kim Blum and some of the others. That's not right. Because
we'll try, but
no, we have an opportunity. That's our jobs, is to be very open and sharing and communicating and solving problems. But what we recognize, International Women's Day is truly a global day that's celebrating the social, economic, and cultural achievements of women, and all women. And we wanted to make sure that we included absolutely every woman that fit our criteria, which is that they're not front page news necessarily, but each and individually they're making unbelievable contributions to the community.
Kathy, tell us your story. Tell us a little bit. Have you sat down and worked out what you're going to say yet?
I have such a long and winding road to get where I got.
Let's start at the long end back there and bring us up.
When I was young, people that know me now don't buy this at all, but I was very shy and quiet and timid. And so I badly wanted to go to college. That was always my plan. Graduated from high school after taking all the classes. I didn't take the fun classes. I took the classes that would look good on my transcripts. And then everything just fell flat. I had no support. Both my parents were college graduates, naval officers. But I had no support on how to get to college. So I ended up not going, which was traumatic for me. So it took me a while to figure out what I was going to do. So I worked in restaurants. I worked my way around, and I did well, and I worked my way up everywhere that I was and got married. One day I decided that I wanted to be in the financial business. I worked for a Casa de Cambio, which is an exchange house. We were the American liaison for a Mexican Casa de Cambio, and I just really enjoyed the detail and the money and everything about it. I then went to an investment company, and I just wanted to work there. I wanted to get into that business and talked to somebody who was like, what's your plan and everything? And I said, I just really want to be in this business. I don't know what role I want to do yet. I just know that this business fascinates me. And I didn't end up getting that job because it was a phone job, talking on the phone. I don't want to hire somebody to have them move up the ranks and move out of this position, because this position takes a lot of learning and qualifications, and it takes a long time to be good at it. But I got a call from them a couple months later and said, hey, we have another role that we want you to come and apply for. I did that, and I ended up working my way up there. They moved to, there's a lot of transition in financial companies, so they ended up outsourcing. I moved over to USAA. I worked in the USAA investments for a long time, and then USAA sold their investment company. So here I was. COVID had just started. There was nobody hiring. There was no one doing interviews. We had been working from home, so I had absolutely no idea what to do with my life. So I opened a cottage food company, because that is what one does when one is faced with this situation. And so I did that. So I worked the Boerne market. I worked Fredericksburg market. I worked the Huebner Oaks market, selling. I had different flavoring salts and everything. I had a really spicy salt called Bad Words. I know I'm going to have some people out there that remember that when they ask about it. I had lavender salt. I had all kinds of different things. I made my own Worcestershire sauce, and I was doing really well. And then I ended up getting divorced, shockingly. So we sold the house, got divorced. I ended up moving into an apartment that I had never seen before. It was a very traumatic time, and I ended up not only losing my home and losing my family, but losing my business, because I could no longer produce my product in the atmosphere that I was in. There's a lot of regulations and everything. I had actually been looking at a brick and mortar place to start doing manufacturing and being able to sell online and ship and things like that, but It was just a lot to take on. There was a lot of licensing, a lot of money to input to get the premises up to what I needed it to be. So I ended up not pursuing it any further and sat around my apartment for a while and felt sorry for myself and took a lot of walks. And finally one day it came down to I had a plan. I was going to cash in my 401k, go on a world cruise, and not come back.
Yep.
That was my plan.
Get off that cruise there somewhere in Venice and don't get back on.
If that worked out that way, if I had to jump off, like whatever it was, I just wasn't going to come back from that. I was going to see where that took me, and that was it. And I looked in the mirror one day and I just said, "Girl, you need to put some makeup on." A friend of mine says, "Girl, wash your face." So that's what I needed to do. I had to put my makeup on. I had to dress up. I had to intentionally put myself together and have some place to be at a certain time.
And you had to smile and be confident about the smile.
Exactly. I needed some place where I could fake it till I made it, because it was not happening on my couch. And funnily enough, I saw this ad for a temporary position at the sales office at Cordillera Ranch. I called the number and got disconnected. And I called back, which is something that I never do. I just figure that's the plan. If you get hung up on, you're not supposed to make that connection. But I called back. I ended up getting through and went in for an interview and got that position. So I ended up covering for somebody that was on maternity leave. And it was a very short time, but it was the thing that I needed to get me back. I had a beautiful view to look at every day. I had great people to look at. It was a beautiful environment. It was exactly what I needed. When the lady that I was covering for came back from maternity leave, they asked me, they were like, "Tell me a little bit more about yourself." The CEO, the CFO actually said, "Tell me more about yourself. You've done a good job, and we hate to see you go, but we want to see if we have anything on the ranch that would work for you." And they happened to have the payroll position. The lady was leaving imminently. And so he said, "Sit in on this meeting and see if this sounds like something that you could do." And he sat there, and one of the accounting staff sat there and had no idea what this poor woman was trying to get across. But I had hospitality experience and I had financial experience, so I was able to decipher and talk them all through it. And so that's how I ended up getting my position.
This is Kathy Spink. You're hearing Kathy Spink talk. She's the HR payroll admin out at the club's Cordillera Ranch. There's such a thing as a glass ceiling, but there's also glass walls, and there's glass slippers, and there's glass we have to walk on. It sounds like your long and winding road, you were walking along that. Tell us about times when 3 hours or 3 days in a row, I'm going to cash it in, go on a cruise, or I'm just done. Then you wake up the next day, and there's this vitality, there's this energy, but by God, I'm better than that. How do you flex in and out of that situation? How do you pick yourself up when you're not sure there's a tomorrow?
To be honest, a lot of times I just say, you know what, just give it till tomorrow. Mm-hmm. I don't know what tomorrow is going to be, but if you can make it through today, see what's going to happen tomorrow. And that's gotten me through quite a few times in my life.
Famous lines of a song, "Today is only yesterday's tomorrow."
I love that.
Yeah. Talking Staci Almager from Hill Country Family Services, and Kathy Spink is here. She's going to be on a panel on Friday, March 7th, International Women's Day panel. It's a discussion. We want people to go and listen to several women. They're telling, you just heard Kathy, some things she's overcome. But for those of us who have grown up in an ideal situation, you've had your mom and your pop, you've been married for 38 years, your kids went to high school and they're into college. Families have family issues. There's divorce, there's drugs, there's all kinds of things that can get in the way. There's being fired. USAA, where they dissolved, my son worked at USAA when they dissolved a whole department.
Yep.
They dissolved it. Thanks for working here. Those things are glass walls. It's like you're walking through the hallway. You know there's a ceiling above you, but all of a sudden there's this wall. And you just run smack into it. And you've got to find a way around it, under it, or over it. Tell us about, now, did you go to college at all or no?
No, I never did. I tried to go back, but I just was not able to stick with it.
How many times did people talk to you and say, "You're great, but you don't have a diploma, you don't have college experience"? Does that come up in interviews or from time to time?
Less than you would think.
Really?
Yes, less than you would think. And I think a lot of it just has to do with the way that you walk in and hold yourself and the things that you have to say and the experience that you have. Do I think that I would have been able to move farther faster if I had a degree? Probably. Do I think that I learned it better and deeper than people that are walking in thinking that what they learned in books is going to get them that far? I think so.
Right.
Yeah, in my role now as HR and payroll, I started off doing payroll mainly was the main focus. There really was no HR presence. There was paper pushing, and I just said that's not sufficient. That it's just not good enough. And so I really am heavily more leaning towards the HR portion of my role. I get payroll done, and I have spent a lot of time, and I'm very detailed about it because it's very important to me that my people get paid correctly. But I'm very much focused on the HR side, and I have absolutely zero experience. So, when people say something, I'm like, oh, this is the way I think it should be done.
I love that.
I love that idea. Let's do it the right way, not the way it's been done in the past. We probably was the right way then, but we got it right way now. Yeah. Staci, tell us a little bit about what she's talking about overcoming those that are put in your path without your knowledge, without salt, and you have to find a way around them to continue on your journey.
Oh my gosh, I need a whole other hour to dive into this, but I'll say this phrase, and every woman listening will know exactly what I'm saying, is that we all walk around as women with imposter syndrome. We all think somebody else has got a better degree, they've had it easier, and then you start listening. I think we need to start listening to each other. This is why last year this was so profoundly impactful for so many people. The 100+ women were sitting there, they were clutching their roses, and they had their little snacks. And Carolyn Shipman Evans, one of the most admired women in this entire community, reached over and held the hand of Sonia Agnon from the GVTC Foundation, who said that she felt like she was an imposter because she never finished her college degree, and said, sister, I went to 6 different colleges, but I never graduated. And suddenly that feeling of shame fell off of them, and it was this connectedness that we all need, because I think as women, we're trying to be perfect. We're trying to be Facebook famous. We're trying to be beautiful and have makeup on point and make sure. And the mean girl thing is real. I didn't really realize that until I was in my 30s, that the girls back in junior high, they just grow up and they continue to be mean. And here in Boerne, we try so hard to intentionally hold each other up, build each other up, and we have zero tolerance for that. And so if we can gather the people who are trying to make these fierce 5 women who are going to be honored on March 7th, they are women to be admired because they may have felt that imposter syndrome. I'd say probably, if you're humble, then you probably have felt that way, because you're meeting people where they are and you look at them intentionally and you know the places that they've been because you can see it in each other's eyes, right. And you build each other up, and that's the community we choose to live in. So that's the one that we want to build. Do
you think there's, making up a name here, Susan, what's a good last name? Susan Donaldson. She's the CEO, and you mentioned GVC.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to say GTTTV since it's different. Okay. And you see her on her, you put her on a pedestal because she's the president.
Sure.
And you think, oh, she went to college, she was hired as something, and then she was promoted, and then you find out the story is totally different. Totally different. Yeah. Those people didn't get where they are by the way we think they did. And it's great to hear Carolyn Shipman Evans sit down and say, sister, that's not the way it works. Or an HR payroll admin person saying, I don't have the college degree. I didn't even go to college. So there's people who would admire you, say, I didn't go to college either. I felt so empty or so unqualified.
Insecure. All the words. And you're right. And this is like, I want everybody to feel inspired to come and enjoy the moment with us, because each of the women were chosen for their own spectacular reason. If I may share, the reason that I met Kathy was because our businesses do business together, and we're grateful for that. But we started the Kendall County Behavioral Health Advisory Coalition, and you remember that. Yeah. We were trying so hard to gather all of our community together, make sure that we had all the resources. And out of the blue, we get a call at my office from Kathy and as you know him, Bryce Bodie, is a licensed master social worker. And I don't know exactly what was said in that phone call, but I know that Bryce was out of my office like a rat on a hot Cheeto. And he went out to Cordillera Ranch with 2 of our mental health officers. And without a doubt, Kathy saved a man's life. She did not go to college to become a human resources officer in order to understand the triggers that people are going through. She cared so deeply about an individual who was on her staff, who she wants to pay properly and make sure that, but she knew something was wrong, and she knew what to do. And that is an individual who deserves every praise, because we all fly through life just pretending that everybody else has got it better than we do, and we're not nose to the grindstone. This is an individual who, not coming from that background, took it upon herself to do more than was expected of her. And that's the lightest way that I can possibly say it.
She is human resource.
Very
that puts a different spin on human resourcing.
Yeah. And we do joke about that. Like I put the human back in resources.
Yep. I want to throw something in how I used to work. Another thing, you mentioned you after COVID, the divorce, you weren't 23 or 24.
No.
Where people say, hey, I got my whole life ahead of me. You were in that life. You were making
These are the good old days.
Yeah. Well, I didn't want to say that.
I was in my 50s. I was in my early 50s. Yeah. So it is not like I just, go out, start all over again, which I ended up doing.
Right. When I was young, I did the phone. I think everybody's worked a phone bank once in their life. And the guy told me, he said, Jeff, you're going to make 50 calls today. And you're going to get a lot of phones slammed in your ear. You're getting a lot of no's, a lot of bad word no's. And he said, but we're looking for 2. Because when you get those 2 and you made 50 calls, you're going to feel so good when you get those 2. And so I reflected biblical. I said, it's like the sheep. 100 sheep, 99 out there, but if that one strays off, and I saved that one, he says, no, Jeff, save 2.
Gotta have the 2 black sheep.
You gotta have those 2 sheep. Don't look for one, get 2.
No.
That's the 5 panelists. There's going to be, each panelist somebody's going to be sitting in that audience, and your 5 are going to go through their stories, and somebody's going to relate to Black Rifle Coffee. Somebody's going to relate to Cordillera Ranch. Somebody's going to relate to each of those women, and they're going to walk up afterwards and say, I'm going through exactly what you went through.
I wanted to say that while we were sitting here.
That was me last year. Yeah. I went last year, and I was so inspired. And I'm not usually a fangirl type, but I went up to these women, and I waited until everyone went around. And I was like, I just thank you so much for being here. You've inspired me.
The vulnerability is amazing.
Yeah, that's a great word.
So, we were sitting here, and you said you wanted to go to college, but you didn't know how. You were describing me. You just took me back 37 years when I was graduating from high school, and I had no earthly idea how to get there. None. Yes, and that's what we hope to do. We hope everyone takes an hour out of their life, every woman. And if you're a man and you're like, man, girl power, I want to make sure I listen to the strength in our community, please come.
Well, I'll be there, but I'll stand at the back wall.
Okay. You and my board members. I have one of my board members from Cordillera who loves to crash the party.
Well, did you say it's going to be champagne toast?
Yes, we have a champagne toast. Breezy is bringing her charcuterie cups. So we have these really phenomenal items for snacking. We have roses for everyone. We want to make sure everyone receives their own personalized gift that day, because being a woman in general is such a gift. We are filled with love and compassion, but sometimes you need some girl power.
It's a lot of work.
Right. Kathy, thank you for being here. Inspiring story. I love to hear those. You talked about long winding road. It was the path that fell over the cliff, and you managed to come back up.
She went cliff diving.
Yeah, cliff diving.
Just all of a sudden, she had this cape behind her.
And speaking of cliff diving, later today, Staci Almager is going to jump into the Boerne Lake. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes, it's going to be 40 degrees.
Oh, my gosh. When I agreed to do this polar plunge.
Freezing for a reason.
Yes. And you know what? I know that I've inspired my friends who have all given me like $20, $25 because they're so glad it's me, not them, because they're like, you're such an idiot.
Now, International Women's Day, what time is it? Where is it? Is there a cost?
International. It's free. It is
free.
Absolutely free. You can even consider it your lunch. All you have have to do is come to the Patrick Heath Library, and there's no geographical reason. You don't have to just be from Boerne or Kendall County, but we want to inspire our local lived community. It is going to be in the community room, and you receive, as I said, some swag and some gifts and a whole lot of intentional love by the women who are going to be and on our panel.
And I don't mean to sound negatively, but if you walk out of there without talking to somebody, that's on you.
That's totally on you.
That's totally
That's your
on
problem.
You. There's going to be a panel of 5. There's going to be a woman to your left, a woman to your right, a woman in front of you, one behind you, and one of the 4 has the same story or same thing you've gone through.
Yeah.
That's the way it is.
I think everybody's going to get up. And last year, one of our honorees, she brought her entire family. They flew in from Virginia,
Really?
and they were there to love on her and support her. And this is what this is all about. Let's just share the love.
Staci, thank you very much. Kathy, thank you very much again,
Thank
folks.
you.
Thank
Hey,
you.
it's Saturday. We just got through a little cold streak. It's still a little chilly today. If you want to go out and watch people jump in Boerne Lake for the Freezing for Reason, please do that. That's a great charity effort out there. Other than that, folks, March 7th, correct?
March 7th.
International Women's Day, Patrick Heath Library Community Room. Be there at 10 a.m. Thank you very much for listening, Boerne. God bless, and you have a great weekend for us. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Bye-bye.